Ask Andrew Barr for his thoughts on National Cabinet and it might surprise you.
When the shit hit the fan, things came together.
The ACT's Chief Minister remembers the fear amongst fellow leaders who'd gathered for COAG.
As I recall, we were at Parramatta Stadium on a Friday afternoon in March of last year, and from that point it became clear we would need to meet more frequently.
The images of foreign body bags hitting home, the realisation clear.
It was going to be a pandemic, and this would mean life was going to change.
And so it did. The 9 leaders forming a new tier of government, the effective war cabinet, instigating a nationwide lockdown, leaving Australians glued to their TV screens for news conferences that would dictate the direction of their lives and livelihoods.
All Australians are going to be making sacrifices, obviously, in the months ahead.
Andrew Barr's jaw hitting the floor numerous times at the scale of the disaster, as leaders more accustomed to being political opponents gave the PM and each other blunt advice, often late into the night.
Throughout all of it, everyone is still talking. There have been moments clearly where tensions have flared and where things have got a little more personal than they maybe need to.
Sky News has been told Scott Morrison begins National Cabinet with an around the grounds, usually checking in first with New South Wales and then Victoria, cementing for some the old notion of an East Coast triangle of power between the 2 largest economies and Canberra. National Cabinet reinforced that or water it down?
Reinforced it, I think.
Dig deeper.
Well, there is a certain level of arrogance that comes from some of the larger jurisdictions. It doesn't really matter who the Premier of New South Wales is. You can largely predict the arguments they will mount.
For our success, though, Andrew Barr believes the nation has lost something.
But in some areas, clearly we are more divided, and people see things through the lens of their local area.
He also believes National Cabinet has been a reality check for Scott Morrison over where power lays.
Probably the big takeout message of the last year is that it's reminded Australians that we live in a federation and that power is distributed.
As for the Cabinet's failings, the Chief Minister believes its biggest has been the inability to agree over if the nation is trying to eliminate or suppress the coronavirus.
But it's not been through lack of trying.
But as for its successors, National Cabinet can largely consider itself one. The state-federal framework, now permanent, replacing the COAG model after nearly 30 years.
COAG is no more.
How National Cabinet continues to agree and disagree while forging the nation's post-pandemic pathway remains to be seen. But for now, its legacy is predominantly positive, responsible for swift and decisive action that saw the nation avoid similar scenes to that of Europe and America.
National Cabinet saw an unprecedented level of cooperation between the federal and state governments,
allowing Australians all to rejoice that our home is largely COVID-free. Jonathan Lee, Sky News, Canberra.